Hey guys, Jordan here from Tech Revolution, and today in front of me I have our Blaze Series rear bumper for a 2018 and up JL. Now this bumper comes shipped with our textured black powder coat and comes customizable out of the box with this piece of cladding right here that is not attached. You can customize that and paint that a different color if desired, as well as these two vents that you can also paint a different color if desired. Now this bumper comes with reinforced heavy duty brackets to mount to your frame, as well as 2 recovery points. Now this bumper does come with a license plate relocation bracket, and if you don't want to use the standard bracket that we have, we also offer a tailgate one that does work with your factory backup camera. Now this bumper does come with all the necessary hardware that you need to install it, but if you want to learn more about this bumper, visit crawltechrevolution.com. Now we're going to get to installing it, so follow along. Now our first step is we're going to remove this little plastic shield here. There's 2 bolts right here and then one right here. This is just 8mm socket. You'll probably need a swivel to be able to get these off. Should just fall right out of place, like so. Now after you got those little panels off, that's just going to get us a little bit more access to these brackets and this wiring harness. So this is on the driver's side. There's this little white clip here. Just take a screwdriver or a clip tool. You have to pop that out. They can be really, really tight. And you're just going to try to unplug this. And pop this clip off. Maybe get you down here. You can see this right here. That needs to be popped up like that. And you just gotta push down and pull. And then right here, there's a clip here. Remove this clip, if you can see it. And then in here as well, there's a clip. Just pull this harness over and out of the way. Now on each side, we're going to remove this bracket here. So these 4 bolts. So these are all just a 16mm socket. So just remove these bolts. Remove this bracket. Now we're going to remove these 2 nuts that are on these studs. So this is also a 16mm socket. So on the bottom one, you'll be able to remove easily with an impact. The top one may be a little bit more difficult. If you can't get to it, just use a wrench. So now we're getting ready to move this last nut here on the stud. So in our case, we do have a hitch. So if you have a factory hitch, the bumper does tie in a couple more places, and there's these bolts right here that you can see. So we're going to remove this. So if you don't have a hitch, once you start to remove this, your bumper's going to want to come off. So just be mindful of that. So we're going to go ahead and just remove this. You can kind of see how the bumper already wants to kick off, or we're being held up by those from that hitch. So like I said, if you don't have a hitch, just be mindful that when you start to take that last nut off, the bumper's going to want to come off. So now, since we're here with the hitch, we're going to remove these 2 screws here. Like I said, this is only if you're equipped with a hitch. If you're not, you don't have a hitch, just skip past this. So it's just these 2 screws. You can see these 2 right here, but those just hold on some plastic there. So be careful once you start to release it. These are 10mm here. See how the bumper kicked up there? So now we should just be able to pull this bumper right off like that. Now our next step is we're going to remove this factory bracket. We don't need this anymore. So this is just these 2 bolts. It's a 21mm socket. There's that little tab there. So that's just going to sit in this hole here. You have to just pull down and out. Now we're going to remove this bracket and this tow hook here. So this has 4 bolts holding on because of the tow hook. So the 2 go into the frame that are sandwiched between this bracket, and then these 2 on the bottom that attach just to the tow hook. So I'll go ahead and remove 21mm socket. Remove those. And remove these 2 bottom ones. Hi.
Just like that.
So these 4 vent holes on each side, so 8 total, you can see that they're a little smaller. They are actually tapped holes, but they get tapped before the coating. So since our coating is so thick, we have to tap them out, and it's a 1024 tap because that's the size bolt we use here. So you're just gonna have to tap out every single one of those holes to be able to get your bolts to thread in.
3, 2.
So now our first step is we're gonna take our vents here. Now on this outer face, these vents only go on one way. So just line up the bolt holes that are in the bumper with the holes that are in the vents. And you're gonna take your 1024 button head screws, and this is an 1/8" Allen socket, and just start all those by hand. Now once you have your vents installed, we're gonna go ahead and install our plugs. If you have parking brake sensors, you're gonna put those in there, but in our case we don't, so we're just gonna use these plugs. So these plugs are a really tight fit, so you can see the little cutouts on them. So we'll just put those cutouts here on the, you can kind of see the shape of this hole and the shape of this. Just kind of line it up, and they are, like I said, they're really, really tight. You probably have to get it started on one side and then take a mallet and just try to whack it without breaking it, like so. Now we're going to install our brackets onto the bumper. So you can see we have the bumper flipped upside down here. So you can see that the orientation of all these just line up. So this bracket just slides into the bumper, and all these bolt holes line up. Do that on this side as well, same deal. Just line up all 4 of the holes. And then we're going to take our 7/16 hardware and just loosely start everything. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our centerpiece cladding here, and we're going to install this on the bumper. So you can see the cutout is kind of the same. So we're just going to line those up. So we have 2 sets of bolts here. There's longer ones and shorter ones. So the shorter ones on these upper parts here, so these 6 here are tapped. So we're going to use the shorter ones here. This is a 5/32 Allen bit, and we're just going to get all these started by hand. Now our next step is we're going to take our longer ones with the center cladding here, and all the bolts that, or the holes that aren't tapped, we're just going to take the longer ones, stick them through, and then we're just going to put a nut on the back side here. We just give you flange nuts. Now once you got your centerpiece bolted in, you can leave it loose, don't tighten it yet. We have these little support brackets. Now you can see that it has a bend in it, and then there are these 3 holes that are threaded. So this bend is just going to shape to the bend of that centerpiece that we just put on. So just shape it up, and then the 2 holes, line up with the 2 holes that are on the actual center plate. And just kind of line it up, and it just sits on there like that. And then use your 1/4" bolts that we provide and just line it up and thread them in. Now we're going to install our plugs on the centerpiece, just like we did on the vents here. These ones go in a lot easier, so just press it on and just see if you can spin it, just so you can get the alignment holes off. Same thing on this side. So now our next step, this is if you have a hitch. You can see this, the hitch plug in here has this bolt. So this is actually where we're going to reuse this bolt, but we need to remove this to be able to put our plate on, our support plate on here that we need for this. So we're going to go ahead and remove this bolt. It's a 16mm socket. And just remove that bolt. We might not use this, Nate. This is just in case we have to. So if you do have the trailer hitch here with the wire harness, if you have this bolted all the way up like so, with this sandwich in between, it's at a weird angle, so it doesn't allow you to open up your plug harness here. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this bolt. And you see how it does gain you enough access to do that. But we're going to put a 1/4" washer in there. It's going to be kind of tight. And then we're just going to put this bolt back in there, start it up a couple threads, and that should gain you access. Now you're going to grab your buddy. We're going to slide over. Going to slide this on and just look for clearance on here, so you're going to pick it up kind of high. These brackets go on the outside of the frame. And then this metal piece here, that the support bracket is gonna sandwich between where we took this bolt off and the bracket for the plug-in here. Now underneath here, where the factory bolts were at, we're gonna use the factory bolt. We're just gonna line this up with these two holes. So we have to come in a little bit and just get all four of those started. Just two on each side. So now once you have your bumper installed, we're gonna leave these outer bolts loose. And then if you do have the towing package and you do have the factory wire harness here for the trailer, you're only gonna be able to use this inside bolt here on the bracket. That was the bolt we removed. If you don't, you're able to use our nut tab with both holes, but since we have the hitch here, we have to use the factory bolt, only the one. So you just have to line it up and start it. And on this side, and I can show you as we do it, you're gonna be able to use both holes, but on this hole here, you'll actually have to drill out to be able to use the nut tab, but there's a factory hole here that we can use, but we'll have to drill out one hole and be able to use our nut tab. Now, if you're worried about strength, these brackets here are just purely a reinforcement bracket to just ump it up a little bit, as well as these side brackets here. So now on the passenger side, we do have to drill a hole. So this is part of the reason we kept this loose, to be able to kind of move it. So on the most outer edge, there is already a factory hole that we can use, but we do have to drill out this hole here. So we're gonna go ahead and just use a 7/16 drill bit and just drill straight through the frame here. Now once you have that hole drilled, we're gonna take our nut tab. We provide two of these that are the exact same. So there's a factory hole right here. We're just gonna slide that through, line up the nut tab with the hole, and get them both started. Now we can tighten this up once you got both of them started into the nut tab. This is the 5/8 socket. Just snug both of those up. Now we're gonna go ahead and tighten up the side bolts on each side. So this is the 21mm socket with the factory bolts. Tighten those up on each side here. Now we're gonna tighten up the 7/16 hardware that are on the actual brackets that we just tightened down. So this is gonna be a 5/8 socket. Probably gonna have to use a swivel to get in there. And if they are spinning, you'll just have to somehow grab the top of it through here to hold the nut, but the nut is a flange nut, so it should just catch and tighten down, like so. Do that for all four of them. So now we're just gonna go through, we're gonna tighten all of our hardware up that we left loose to help these brackets line up. So remember, it's just a 5/32 Allen. And just snug them all up. Make sure not to strip them out. They will strip out very easily. Now we're gonna install our stainless steel badge. This is our Jack's badge here. We gave you stainless steel rivets and just install it so his hair goes to the right. And line those rivets up with the holes. Take your rivet gun and just pop these both on. Now next we're going to install our license plate relocation bracket that is provided with the bumper. But if you stay tuned, we're going to be releasing our video on the Tech Revolution tailgate license plate relocation bracket. Now this bracket is pretty self-explanatory. There's just two holes on the driver's side of the bumper on the top, and there's just this little bracket that only goes on one way. So take your provided stainless steel hardware and to be able to access it from the top, push down there, and then from the bottom, you have to reach your fingers up there. Now we're just going to tighten these bolts down. This is a 5/32 Allen. These are serrated flange nuts, so we don't really have to hold the nut. You just tighten that down, and it will catch itself. And just do each one of those. Now we're going to install our license plate into our license plate relocation. Here we give you these stainless steel bolts with a Torx head. Just pretty simple, just line it up. They give you some serrated flange nuts. We do give you 4 of these, do all 4 holes. But if you only want to do 2, that's fine.
3, 2.
Now we're just going to tighten these bolts down. This is a T30 Torx bit. So once again, these are serrated flange nuts, so they should just hold themselves to tighten. Snug them all up. Now that's how you install our Blaze Series rear bumper on our 2018 and newer JL. Now these bumpers do come in 2 configurations, one that is equipped for a 30-inch light bar and one that is not. If you have any questions about this bumper, you can visit Crawltech Revolution. And a side note, that these bumpers are in stock, ready to ship.